Joining me now from 2021 Big East Media Day at Madison Square Garden, Storm the Paints, Kevin Connelly. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me here. Old digs here. It's been a long time since you and I have been here.
It has, but glad to be back, and it has been a while. That infamous day where everything got shut down, the last time we were in this building together, and
Yeah.
great to be back.
Unbelievable stuff, Kev. Let's talk about St. John's here. They're picked fourth in the preseason Big East poll. What do you see with this team moving forward?
Well, I think it's a fair ranking. I came out with what I thought the rankings were going to be last night. I had them at 3, but you could definitely flip-flop them in Xavier, I think. I think Xavier is a experienced team. St. John's, they're an experienced team, but they're not an experienced team together. Only 3 players coming back from last year: Pookie Alexander, Julian Champagny, Dylan Adai-Wusu. Other than that, yeah, there's experience, but not experience in a St. John's uniform. So I think there are going to be some growing pains. Perhaps that's why the non-conference schedule is not very loaded. Only 3 games against power conference teams: at Indiana, against Kansas, and against Pittsburgh. Mike Anderson, again today, defended his non-conference schedule, said, quote, "There are no more cupcakes anymore." So we'll see what happens, but I definitely think a little bit of that non-conference schedule is due in part to the lack of experience playing as a unit.
That's definitely something that could play into conference season maybe down the stretch. Kev, something else, we got a chance to chat with graduate guard Steph Smith early on here on the Asian Observer, and he said that the 40 minutes of hell for him was a big transition. A lot of these guys, they're brand new. What do you think about this whole 40 minutes of hell thing with this brand new roster?
So I think there definitely are pieces that are going to work very well with this Mike Anderson style defense. I was talking to Steph Smith earlier as well, and he said that the speed of the game from the America East Conference to the Big East was one of the biggest adjustments for him. But the thing that drew him to St. John's was how Mike Anderson always gets the best out of his players, and that's what sold him on this Red Storm program. So I think you look at a player like Steph Smith. I think you look at a player like Montez Mathis, who I asked Mike Anderson about earlier, and he gave a glowing review to. Look in the front court, Aaron Wheeler. I think he's going to be a player that's going to absolutely run the floor and thrive in this system. And the one player that hasn't been talked about a lot that's going to be really good, that Mike Anderson even said, "Why is no one asking me about this kid?" is Tariq Coburn, the Hofstra transfer. He's going to be a doctor one day. He's going to save the world. And Mike Anderson, he just couldn't say enough, and he wanted more people to ask him about Coburn and what he's going to bring to this team, and he absolutely is in love with him.
Kevin, you brought up about Pookie Alexander earlier, and he made the All-Big East second team this year, and a lot of people said, well, that might just be a little too low. He should have made the first team. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good guards here in the Big East, but and if you're looking at Pookie Alexander, I think second team is fair, but I also think it's fair criticism of those who think he should have been on first team. I mean, you're talking about the reigning Big East Defensive Player in the Year and the reigning Big East Freshman of the Year. The only time the freshman has won both of those awards, Allen Iverson. So he's in pretty good company, or the last time someone has won those same. So he's in very good company. So do I think he should have been on second team or first team? Yeah, you can make that argument, but definitely being on one of the teams is fine, and I'm expecting a big jump for Alexander this year. Mike Anderson, I said, what's the next step for him? And he said, lead the league in assists. Now, I think that's a very achievable goal, but also for St. John's to take the next step, I think he has to develop more of a consistent outside shot.
This is something else that is not really spoken about enough, is